Today I wanted to make a video regarding cryptocurrencies and transaction fees. You can see I've got some screen prints set up here from an Exodus wallet. I chose the Exodus wallet because it will populate the transaction fee. It shows you the value of it just before you send. It's a wallet I use as a hot wallet. Mostly because I'm usually using my laptop when I'm on exchanges or emailing people or trying to transfer a coin from here to there. So it's just handy. It's right along the side. For my long-term storage, I actually use a Nano S, which is made by Ledger. A Ledger Nano S is the device. It's basically a YouTube stick with a software program put on it already. And it's just a much safer way of storing your coins offline. Cold storage, I guess you'd call it. You could put it in the USB stick though and use it as a hot wallet as well. There's no reason why you can't. I just choose not to. I keep my Ledger Nano S put away. So let's start with Bitcoin. So this is the send tab that you get in an Exodus wallet when you first go to send Bitcoin anywhere. I don't have any, but I've actually, these white bars don't exist. There's some personal information that goes there with values and stuff, so I just blurred those out on each of these screen prints. But this is an example of I don't have an address either to put in here because I wasn't actually sending any. This is just for examples. So I populate it with 1 BTC, currently valued around $15,000 Canadian right now. And you'll see that it checks the size of the transaction that's going to be needed to send 1 Bitcoin out of my wallet and populates the transaction fee. Now Exodus Wallet scans the blockchains and it can see how much of a fee must be paid to get that transaction done in a reasonable amount of time. So other wallets, if you had Bitcoin Core, you can actually adjust these fees up and down to maximize or to cheapen the transaction fee. The danger of doing that though is, since the mining network right now is over 100,000 transactions unconfirmed, meaning they're behind the transaction count by more than 100,000 transactions, you can only write approximately 3,000 transactions per every 10 minutes when they write a block. So they're several hours behind. So there's a lot of transactions waiting in the queue, waiting to get picked up by the miners right now. And some people, if their fee's not high enough, that could take days. Unfortunately, you can't cancel a transaction, bring it back, increase your fee. Once you release a transaction to the blockchain, it's out there until the mining network picks it up. So if you're trying to buy something from someone and you want to do the transaction at the moment, you don't want to wait hours for the transaction to get picked up. Otherwise, the person's going to be a little leery about releasing whatever it is you're buying from him without actually seeing the transaction. And that's where the fees come in. Right now, people are saying that it could be up to $20 to get into the next block immediately. That varies though, and I don't want to quote an actual maximum price that you'd want to do. If you're sending lots of money, let's say you were sending 1,000 Bitcoins from spot to spot, well, paying a $50 transaction fee to make sure it goes right away is not that big of a deal. When you have that much currency, it would still be cheaper. Sending 1,000 Bitcoins at today's prices, that'd be, we'll move the decimal 3 places, that'd be $50 million, right? So yeah, $15,420,320. So that would still be cheaper than the bank. $50 of sending that would be much cheaper than trying to wire it via the bank or as a remittance across the world. Western Union. Oh, I don't even know if you can send that much, to be honest with you. You'd have to be a registered corporation or something to transfer money of that value. Anyway, so that's something to make note of with Bitcoin. Oh, and as well, how these coins enter your wallet. Let's say you get them in portions of a coin. You're a YouTuber and you're asking for Bitcoin for donations and you get $5 here. Well, first of all, nobody would send you a $5 donation if you're asking for Bitcoin because of the transaction fee they have to pay. So you might as well change your request for donations from Bitcoin addresses, get a Dash account or Dash wallet and or a Litecoin wallet. Start using some of the other currency related tokens because they're much cheaper to send around. But if you get lots of inputs from several different sources, when you go to offload that from your wallet, you might pay an exorbitant transaction fee, hundreds of dollars, because the actual size of the transaction is going to be huge if you have all kinds of information, addresses creating that Bitcoin, because when it comes in small portions, it takes a lot of addresses to make 1 Bitcoin. So something to take note of. I don't know how many people realize that, but this fee does change depending on where these coins came from, whether they came in one transaction or if there were many transactions to make that one Bitcoin. Ethereum, a very popular crypto coin or currency. It is a platform. It is used for many different things. Smart contracts mostly. Much smaller transaction fee. One Ethereum would only cost .0000945 Ethereum to send it, approximately $1.33 at today's value, and much more reasonable to move Ethereum around. This network is also getting loaded down. There are many ERC20 tokens. That means that they ride on the Ethereum blockchain, and every time those tokens are moved around as well, that's Ethereum transactions that take place. There's some mining network fees that have to be paid. Then these here are 5 examples of tokens that use Ethereum, and you're going to notice something right away. Even though it's using Ethereum, it is a different fee for this transaction. So a $23 Omisigo token would cost $7.55. In Ethereum, you have to have Ethereum in your wallet to move this token around. It doesn't take the fee from your Omisigo holdings. So make note of that as well. EOS, these coins are all very similar. You can see here the transaction fee varied. It just went down from 755 to 748. That's because the price of Ethereum has varied in the minutes between my screen captures here as I was navigating through my Exodus wallet. It did an update and the price of Ethereum was different, so that's why that changed. But you don't want to be moving your tokens around one at a time, that's for sure. You could put this to 1,000, same fee is going to be paid. So group your tokens to move them around because it's going to cost you a lot of money otherwise. Basic attention token, same deal. 70. This is less than $1, so you would never do this. Of course, you would never move one basic attention token at one time. A lot of people, when they buy these coins, most likely just leave them on the exchange in hopes that well, eventually you got to bring them home. But if you leave them on the exchange, some people will buy lots of them since they're so cheap and then sell them back trying to turn a profit as an investment strategy. The only problem with that is leaving them on the exchange can be dangerous. We've had 2 major exchange collapses that I'm aware of where people lost their funds. Some others have been hacked and funds were returned over time as the exchange was able to pay off what was missing. But one was Mt. Gox. A lot of people lost their currency that was stored on the exchange, online exchange. And another one that I'm intimately aware of was Cryptsy. Cryptsy went down on December 15th, or late December 2015, and it was literally a day after I had purchased 500 Dash. So in today's prices, that's a lot of money that I lost there. Back then, it wasn't so bad. Dash in 2015 was nowhere near the cost that it is right now, but that was an attempt I made to invest in some Dash at the time, and yeah, it went down and every coin was gone. And of course, I did not have any evidence that I had an account there. I didn't take any screen prints. I didn't have any of my emails at the time, because a lot of these exchanges will send you emails. So when the class action lawsuit came up to try to get some funds returned, I didn't have the proper filings or information that was required, because that lawsuit didn't get announced till almost a year later, and by that time I was moved along. So my fault in that regard. But keep that in mind if you are leaving tokens on the exchange, that is always a possibility. So that was those. So Bitcoin was originally touted as a currency. It's acting more like a precious metal right now. Still a good investment in my view. You just don't want to be breaking it apart and send it in small amounts, or it'll really eat up into your holdings. If you're doing that often enough, it'll cost you a bunch. Some people don't even notice though, because you buy a Bitcoin at $1,000 per se, and 6 months later it's $15,000, and you're moving it around and you're only losing $5, $10 here and there. You don't even really notice it, but it can add up. The first time you'll notice it is when you find out the transaction fee was more than you tried to send, because you wanted to donate some to somebody. So that's not really acting like a currency any longer. Litecoin still is. Litecoin is getting busier, but they are under $1 for a transaction. And although it suffers the same problem as Bitcoin, if there's lots of inputs into an amount, say you're receiving $10 of Litecoin at a time, by the time you get to one full Litecoin, you might have quite a few inputs in your wallet. And when you go to send it, you might have to pay $1.50 or $1.77, depending on how many inputs there are. One thing about Litecoin, though, is that I have not noticed any delay. It's sometimes it's so fast, I'd say a second or less. Sometimes it's a second or more, like no more than 5 seconds, and the person on the other end will have that registered on his wallet. Sometimes they have to do a wallet update because it's already there, but their own personal wallet doesn't scan the blockchain often enough. But if you force an update, boom, it's already there. Very quick propagation across the network on the Litecoin network. It is based on Bitcoin, but rather than every 10 minutes, they set it to every 2.5 minutes is a block getting written. And Charlie Lee, the developer of Litecoin, has announced that he's going to introduce Lightning Network and segregated witness and an anonymizing tool as well. So the problem with those in some people's mind is that they're off-chain. They're not actually secured by the mining network until a block gets written. So there are transactions and calculations being done that aren't part of the Litecoin network. That's what Lightning Network does. It's said to be secure, though, and will allow transactions in the milliseconds, and in the future with greater technology, perhaps even in the microseconds, which would put it on par with all the servers that run, say, a Visa or MasterCard network. They can do many, many transactions per second, whereas Bitcoin is, I believe, 5 to 7 transactions per second. So cheaper mining fees, or transaction fees, we'll call it network fee, and very fast propagation on Litecoin. That's why people are attracted to that. So I consider this to still be acting as a currency. And then my last one would be Dash. Dash is different from the rest in that it has a masternode network. It is also very fast to propagate, and you'll notice here that the transaction fees are sub-cent right now. I don't know what the name is for bits of Dash. In Bitcoin, this would be called Satoshis. The first digit would be a Satoshi, so that would be 226 Satoshis if it was in Bitcoin. In this case, it's Dash, and I don't think they have a name for their smallest unit yet. But currently at $1,000 a coin, this amount of Dash is still sub-cent, which makes it the cheapest to send around. It also propagates its network very fast, but they don't intend to use a Lightning Network or off-chain scaling. So as the network gets busier and busier, the transaction propagation is going to slow down. But Dash has another feature called instant send. So that's how they are going to get away from the problem of a person who wants to do an instant transaction being able to do it still anyway. The instant send will introduce a smaller transaction fee, probably similar to Litecoin. You'd pay 50 cents for the transaction, but it will be guaranteed instant by the masternodes. That is an estimate on my part. I do not know exactly what an instant send transaction fee will be in the future. I'm just saying that it is possible to still do a microsecond transaction because, well, as fast as the computer systems will allow, and which would be similar to what Litecoin is going to be on their propagation. So that's something to consider. So for instance, right now, in my opinion, Dash would be the best to be donating to YouTubers. If they had a Dash address to send coins to instead of a Bitcoin address, this would definitely be the best way to send it, because the donor does not have to pay a high transaction fee to send small amounts of Dash, or even large amounts. It doesn't matter. It's still in the micro cents. So a $5 transaction to donate to a YouTube video where you enjoy what the creator just produced won't cost you anything extra. And not only that, the creator gets all $5. And when he moves it from the address that you sent it to his own cold storage, he doesn't have to pay any money there either. So all in all, Dash is probably the most useful as a currency right now. Hence, this is what they want it to be, though. It's called digital cash. That is why they called it Dash. So it has two features. It has the ability to do instant send. It also has the ability to do a private send. In case you're a corporation that's investing in high technology or research, you may not want that propagated across the world on a blockchain where people can figure out where you're spending your money, so you still have the ability to do private sends as well. It's an anonymizing tool that's built into their wallet system. Exodus doesn't support that. Exodus just does the conventional sending. But if you got the actual Dash wallet, you would be able to have those features. And Dash is coming out with another wallet as well. I think it's called Evolution. It's about to be released, a high-end wallet that people will be able to use. I don't want to talk too much about Dash, but I guess I have already. But it's different in many ways from some of these other coins or currencies or tokens. So I thought I better add that, because a lot of people, you don't hear a lot of talk about Dash on the internet. Nobody mentions it. They say, oh, send me some Litecoin, send me some Bitcoin. Nobody really mentions, let's just deal with Dash. And I don't know why. It's just so much cheaper to move around. Like every transaction, even people who are taking payments on websites. There's a person I follow on YouTube who has this video series, and he accepts Litecoin. Well, that's great. Litecoin's fine. But I mean, he's still got to pay to move that revenue around and share it amongst the people who it's owed to. Whereas Dash is very cheap. Litecoin is intending to go sub-cent. They're currently not there yet, though. Bitcoin, I don't think it'll ever be sub-cent unless they change their platform immensely. So Bitcoin Cash, that fork from August, it is cheaper to send than Bitcoin right now. But you know what? If their network got really busy as well, I'm not so sure it would stay that way. Because even though they write larger blocks, I believe they write 8 megabyte blocks, so that would be 4 times the size. So 3, 4, that'd be 12,000 transactions per block instead. I'm guessing. I don't know exactly, but I'm just saying Bitcoin Cash. That's the reason they forked, is because Bitcoin wasn't continuing their development, and they're basically the transaction fees were just getting so absorbent it couldn't be used as a currency anymore. Anyway, that is what I thought I'd mention. Dash and Litecoin are the two currencies in crypto world right now. That's not true, actually. I should also add, in all fairness, that there are some others. In the top 20 coins, I believe you'd find Litecoin, Dash, Monero, Zcash. Zcash is a little lower. I'm not sure if it's in the top 20, 25. But you wouldn't have to go down the list on CoinMarketCap very far to find that one. Those all act like currencies. I didn't include Monero in this particular example, though, because I haven't used it yet, so I didn't feel confident enough to talk about it too much. I do know, though, that it is an anonymizing coin. Actually, it's a full privacy coin. After a transaction goes through, the transaction is gone. The network doesn't. There's no record of it any longer. So that's useful in many ways. You pay a taxi cab driver who happens to be tech illiterate, he could look at the address it came from and he'll know how much money you've got in the wallet you just sent it from, your phone or wherever you just sent it from. So nobody really needs to show a taxi cab driver everything he's got in his wallet to pay a $5 tax, or who gets a cab for $5 anymore? For a $50 cab fee, you don't want them to know that you're sitting on $500 as you drive around Las Vegas, you know, or $5,000. They don't need to know everything you got in your wallet. So that's where privacy is nice. It works great that way. Dash allows that private send feature, but its transactions are not erased. The transactions still exist. So a corporation or a company that is doing business with cryptocurrency, they need to be able to prove where their money's going. They have expenses, they have salaries, they have purchases. They got to be able to show to their shareholders how their money's being spent. For tax records, they need to have accurate accounting. So Monero is useless to them. They can't use that coin because they have no evidence afterwards of where it's gone. So in that regard, a corporation that's investing in some research or whatever might want to use a coin that does record the transactions, but allows it so that the person who received the funds doesn't know how much money you have or who you are, per se. Anyway, that's just some added notes on my regard. That has nothing to do with transaction fees, but I just thought, to be fair, there are other coins that act like true currencies in the at the top of the market cap in cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin no longer. Ethereum's platform based. It can be used as a currency as well. It's still cheap enough to send around, and it does many things beyond a currency. And tokens, I wouldn't use these as currencies at all. These would be investments in companies and businesses, some startups that are trying to do things in the world to make money. So not truly a stock or a security though, because when you buy tokens in OMG, or you buy tokens in SALT, or you buy tokens in basic attention token, you do not get any say in how the company is ran. Like some certain shares or stocks or securities, you might actually own enough that you can have a vote or a say in how the company moves forward. Or if the company disbands, you get a portion, you're actually entitled to a certain portion of that company based upon how much stock or security you had in it. These tokens do not work that way. A token is just a representation that you have got a portion of the company. You do not get a say in how it's run, or nor do you own any of its fixed live world assets. If it disbands, you don't have a claim on any of that. So anyway, that is just a little bit of what I know about the transaction fees, and this was meant to be a primer so that you can know before going in what to do. If you're looking at getting some coins and you're going to send them around, use them as donations to content creators, I would offer that you should buy Litecoin or Dash in those regards.